Toby Rice is the CEO of EQT Corporation and joins us now. Toby, really nice to see you. How are you?
Hey, happy to be here, yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Look, I mentioned COP30 there as well. Did it touch the sides on your business?
Did it do what?
Well, touch the sides on and did you see any headline out of COP30 that changes how you do your business?
Yeah, when you're talking about climate, you're talking about energy. So we want to be a part of that conversation. I think one of the more important updates at COP this year was really an update on the oil and gas decarbonization charter that was established at COP28 in Dubai under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Sultan, where a coalition of top oil and gas producers around the world, over 40% of the world's oil production, had joined this coalition to pledge to hit pretty aggressive targets, being net zero by 2050 and being near zero methane emissions by 2030. These are very bold targets. And there was a progress update, and I'm happy to say that there are companies that have actually achieved these type of really ambitious climate goals on addressing methane emissions, and that company is EQT. And we have achieved net zero scope 1 and 2 today, and we've also, our methane emissions is 0.007, which qualifies for near zero methane emissions. I think the point is this. Methane emissions is an environmental issue that is one of the biggest issues about natural gas, and we want the world to keep the focus on methane because we can knock that out of the park, as we're showing here at EQT, and the coalition of top energy producers are on track to make that happen.
I had the privilege of talking to a lot of the big CEOs about this very issue in Dubai at the time, and Darren Woods was one who was very excited about joining that because big oil came back into the tent. The whole point about Dr. Sultan leading that COP at 28 was the fact that it was the first time that everyone said, rather than bemoaning and demonising the oil and gas industry, let's bring them in, let's see what they can do as well. So it was a very pragmatic view, I thought. Have we actually made any progress since then, though, around further legislation in terms of further working out a roadmap to end fossil fuel usage?
Well, right now, I think where the world is focused on is making sure that the energy systems that we're building are affordable, reliable, and clean. And that needs to be taken into context. And the solutions that we're providing need to balance those three factors in place. I've traveled the world over the past couple weeks, going from Abu Dhabi to Singapore to Tokyo, and now here in London. And one thing that's very clear, despite where we go, everybody is talking about energy security, they're talking about affordability, and they're talking about AI and power generation. Those are the big themes of the day, and when you're talking about those themes, you're talking about natural gas. The good news from a climate perspective is natural gas is one of the biggest decarbonizing tools we have to lower emissions, because when you step back and you look at the situation, the biggest source of emissions on this planet comes from foreign coal, accounts for over 50% of the emissions, and natural gas is a tool to replace that without sacrificing affordability, without sacrificing reliability. And so we support conversations about climate, but we also support super pragmatic conversations about the tools we have in deploying those. And that's why when people are talking about energy security, LNG is a big topic, and that is going to be the tool to unleash one of the biggest green initiatives on the planet while providing a massive energy security blanket to the world.
You mentioned affordability just now. I think somewhere earlier this week you said that currently consumers in Boston and New York are paying more for their natural gas than we are in Europe or in countries like Japan. I mean, I found that amazing. Explain what's behind that.
So it's really bizarre. In the U.S. we've seen a very big structural change in our energy markets. We've seen natural gas demand grow 50%. We've seen the pipeline infrastructure to support that demand only grow 25%. And we've seen storage infrastructure only grow about 2%. Storage is needed to buffer supply and demand, all being insufficient. And so that has created some really bizarre impacts when it comes to energy in our markets. And one of those examples is the fact that the pipeline cancellations that have taken place that would have brought low-cost, reliable energy to New England have created significant disconnects where now, unfortunately, we say that the highest natural gas prices in the world are not going to be paid in Japan. They're not being paid in Europe. This winter, the highest natural gas prices are going to be paid in Boston and New York City to a tune of $16 per unit of gas. And what makes it even more remarkable is this region that's paying the highest natural gas prices in the world is right next to a region that's paying some of the lowest natural gas prices in the world. I'll be selling that same product for $4 in Pennsylvania, and my mother in Boston is going to be paying 4 times that amount. It's because of the lack of pipeline infrastructure. And people need to understand, if you're talking about affordability, a lot of these issues that people are struggling with are completely self-inflicted. We got to get back to getting infrastructure built. Let's put energy affordability and reliability at center stage, and then let's work to optimize and clean up the energy systems that we have. That's what our suggested plan is.
I mean, pipelines cannot be built overnight. How long is it going to take to get this infrastructure in place to bring down prices for the consumers you referred to?
Well, physically, I mean, we can build infrastructure in less than 12 months' time. But getting through the regulatory framework is going to require much longer. I'll give you an example. With our company, we own a pipeline called Mountain Valley Pipeline. This is the pipeline that was one of the most controversial pipelines in the country. It required an act of Congress to get built. Now, that's a sad state of affairs in America when it requires an act of Congress to get a piece of infrastructure built. A project that was a $3 billion cost was going to take 36 months to build. Turned out taking over 8 years and $8 billion. This is just a signal that our regulatory system and also the judicial system needs significant reform so we can get back to getting back to delivering lower energy prices for Americans. And obviously that's going to translate with our LNG exports, it's going to translate to lowering costs for our
Toby,
ability to export and lower price for the world.
I'm confused, and I want to be apolitical. It's not for me to wade into partisan politics. This is an administration with Chris Wright as the Secretary of Energy and the President who said, we are going to drill, baby, drill. We are going to make it so much easier for the US to become energy independent. And I know energy independence means a lot of different things to a lot of different people as well. We're well into the presidency now. Why isn't that regulation you're talking about, why isn't the catalyst coming from the top down?
Well, I think it is. I think the message is let's focus on making our energy systems more affordable and more reliable and more secure. That's the mantra that you're hearing from the top. And that's what is going to need to take place over the next upcoming months when it comes to permit reform. I was just in D.C. last week, and this was the theme of all of the conversations. This is the biggest opportunity for America to continue to shore up its energy system, which I believe is the foundation of a strong economy.
Right.
Permit reform is going to take place because it's not just about helping oil and gas infrastructure get built. If you think it's hard to get a pipeline built.
Sorry, Toby, this is the man who can make executive orders. He can sign dozens in one day. The man's prolific with his massive marker pen. Why hasn't this gone to the top of the list?
Yeah, because this is not going to be solved with an executive order. And quite frankly, we'd like to see a system where executive orders are used less frequently, and people follow the laws to get infrastructure built. I mean, this is one of the biggest. So this is going to take an act of Congress to get that solved. And that's the only way we can develop a sustainable regulatory environment so that people can have the confidence to make these infrastructure investments. And I'll give you just one example on the cost of this regulatory uncertainty. To get energy to Boston to build a pipeline, I used to go to my pipeline contractor, say, get me a pipeline, what would it cost? They would say, we can do it for you for $1 for a fee. Now they come back because of this regulatory uncertainty and they're quoting $2, $3, $4 transport fee for that same pipeline. That is the cost of this regulatory uncertainty, and it's completely unnecessary, and it's something that we control. And the last point I'd make on this is not just about helping getting oil and gas infrastructure built. This is about getting all infrastructure built, because if you think it's hard to get a pipeline built, try building a transmission line. If you think it's hard to get an oil and gas location built, try building a 5,000-acre solar facility, a wind farm. It's hard for all energy developers to get built, and we see a lot of progress on that front.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Nice to see you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Really good to see you. Toby Rice, who is the CEO of EQT Corporation. Good to see you, sir.